sustainable agriculture and maintaining our green image. So briefly, I suppose, just to look at the profile of the calves that are coming from the dairy herd that are available for beef production. You can see clearly here that approximately about 85% given any given year, I think it's 83 in that slide, but essentially about 85% of the calves coming from the dairy herd are either male dairy calf, Aberdeen Angus dairy cross, or Hereford dairy cross. You can see there the Limousin, it's about 6%, so it's actually the dominant continental, it's greater than all the rest of the continental breeds combined. So essentially they're an easy calving breed, and that's why they're the breed of choice for dairy farmers. So when we look at national statistics, and I suppose this is one thing that some beef producers take kind of offence to, is the beef coming from the dairy herd. They actually account for over half the national steer kill. Okay, so going back to the dominant ones again, and for the purpose of the presentation tonight, I'm going to stick with spring-born calves. So essentially, for the Holstein Friesian, the carcass weight in this system is about 325 kilos. Average age of slaughter is 29 months. For the early maturing and late maturing then, carcass weights are 335 for the early maturing and 370 for the late maturing. But the problem in this slide really is the average age of slaughter is 30 months of age. So over half those animals are on the farm for greater than 2.5 years. So as the Minister mentioned earlier, to be focused on our environmental footprint going forward, we have to be cognizant that we need to be achieving better targets, slaughtering these animals at a younger age, and ultimately that's going to improve farm profit. If these animals are having poor lifetime performance, if they're hanging around on the farm for up to 3-4 years, that's limiting the stock carrying capacity of the farm. They're going to have a poor, lower carcass weight if you're going to slaughter them at a younger age, and ultimately you might be ineligible for quality assurance payments then. So the only way to come around that is to use more concentrates, or else have the animals for longer on your farm. So ultimately, we want to improve that. So essentially, if we look at the key performance indicators, and for the purpose of this slide, I just used the 24-month Holstein Friesian steer system. I could have used any system, but there are a number of KPIs throughout the production cycle that you need to achieve to ensure that you're making a net margin at the end. Okay, so the first two lines there is essentially looking at the rearing phase, so calf mortality during the rearing phase and weaning weight. So look, for the average mortality during rearing, I've just put in an average figure there of 10%. It's not a national figure at all, but some producers have come back to me and told me that their calf mortality was extremely high on any particular spring for whatever reason. So essentially, when you look at that versus the target of 3%, the overall difference on a per head basis is €14. Equally, when you look at weaning weight, we have a target weaning weight there of 85 kilos. If it drops to 75, there's a loss there of about €9. So relatively small differences there. But essentially, as we look further down, if you look at the average daily gain during the first season of grass, so we want the calves gaining 0.8 of a kilo from May up until about now. If they only achieve 0.6 of a kilo, we're losing €41. So as you can see, the story continues as we move further down for the first winter, second season of pasture, and indoor finishing period. If you're going to drop about 0.2 of a kilo during any critical phase there, you can see then you're going to lose money up to about €120 for the indoor finishing phase. Okay, so the target net margin in a standard 24-month steer system, where you achieve your needs, I suppose, are as applicable to dairy heifers as they are to male dairy calves. So essentially, we want the calves doing about 0.8 of a kilo during the first season, coming in at 230. First winter then, 0.6 of a kilo per day, turn them out to grass again at 320. Achieving high levels of animal performance essentially during the second grazing season to make sure that we can achieve this 620 kilos at 24 months of age. And there is an opportunity there to slaughter them before 24 months, where you can slaughter them now at a lighter carcass weight, but equally the benefit to that is you can carry more of them because your sheds are available again to weanings the following winter. Alternatively, there's nothing wrong with slaughtering animals at 28 months of age, but we shouldn't be going beyond it because there is a tipping point there, because it does start to hamper overall farm profit if we go beyond 30 months. So essentially, if you go to 28 months of age, we can come in there to about 350 kilo carcass weight in that system as well. Okay, so ultimately, this is about improving efficiency. There's nothing fancy about it. First and foremost, we need to increase our output per head. I think if we do that, we've a benchmark for what we need to achieve going forward. Otherwise, if we just pile on the numbers, on your farm, you're going to be looking at higher levels of concentrate supplementation, and ultimately that's going to hammer your profit. So when you get your increase in your increased output per head, then we can start looking at focusing on increasing your stocking rate. So first and foremost is monitor your grass land management, identify the paddocks that aren't growing as much grass, reseed those ones and get them productive. Ultimately, by doing this, you're going to increase your beef output per hectare. So Kieran mentioned there a moment ago about pasture base. This is the Teagasc pasture base system, and that photo was just a screenshot of what was going on last week. So essentially you can see there the different growth rates in the counties of Munster up until I think it's the 5th of November. So
look, West Limerick, Lurkin Pond, Rosslyn, that kind of area. So most people have never seen an harrier. That's a male hen harrier, that's a female hen harrier. I'll go skip through this. It's a €25 million project designed for key farmers in the uplands. The scheme opened last April. The first payments are being made in the next couple of weeks before Christmas, and the scheme is open for new applicants in December. Taken in for, look, hopefully around 1,200 farmers will be taken to the scheme, and it's a 5-year scheme. Look, it's funded. It covers 9 counties, 6 SPAs. I'm not going to go through it, but it's about a results-based scheme and paying farmers for delivering for the environment, where you heard already, that's where the cap is going. So look, there's a lot of parts of this project. I just focused on one trial we did in the summer. It was on upland performance of cattle on uplands, because there's a lot of research out there showing cattle do only hold their weight. We found cattle in the uplands were doing way better than what was ever previous thought. So look, in collaboration with Morgan, we designed the feed block. Look, I'll go through it. So look, basically this is Millennia grass. This is what causes all the fires. If you saw all the fires in Galway, it's this grass that caused it. This is it in the month of June. If you go up there now, this grass is brown. It's like a hay. Throw a match it takes off. So we're paying farmers to improve. These are the areas as well where all the carbon is stored. So we're paying farmers just for biodiversity, improving the habitats for the bird, but indirectly improving it for all other birds like curlew and snipe. We're all also in decline.
Because on and off the field in relation to type keeping, so we'll go for it, okay? The topic I was asked to talk about was predominantly the dry cow, and to talk about getting ready for next year. Because when we're talking about dry cows at this stage, we're talking about getting ready for the next season. And again, the most important thing as such, we'll talk about the transition cow, and we'll talk briefly about body condition scoring, whether it's automated or done physically, and we'll talk about subclinical milk fever as well. Now, what is success? What we want at the end of the day is the cow standing and the calf standing after the calving process. So it's, and again, as the Minister rightly said, perception and reality are important. We're exporting most of our dairy products, and therefore our animals will have to be kept in animal-friendly systems, because everyone around the world is looking at us and where we're keeping the animals and so on. So a picture speaks 1,000 words as well in calving facilities, etc. Now, the reason for focusing on this transition period is that the transition period is the 3 weeks before calving and the 3 weeks after calving. And it is ranked as the most difficult part of the cow's cycle. But a number of people mentioned tonight that if you can't measure, you cannot manage it. And the reality of it is that 80% of the issues the cow experiences over her lactation cycle either occur or are caused by what happens during that 6-week period. So in a nutshell, you can eliminate 80% of your animal issues by focusing on that transition period. And all of these dictate animal health and profitability on the farm. So what are the aims? The aims are obviously to get the cow to calf down with adequate colostrum and a live and healthy calf. We want maximum performance, be it in milk yield or kilos of solids for the production system. We want the cow to resume natural cycling by day 42, so we want her reproductive tract healthy after calving. We want to minimise the metabolic issues, and the main metabolic issues are, retained afterbirths, the milk fever, metritis, womb infections, displaced aponeisms, metritis, which is womb infections, mastitis, etc. So again, even the normal calving is a stressful event for the cow. And we have significant hormonal changes occurring. We have a cow with a suppressed immune system. Now, the cow cannot calve unless her immune system drops. So it's a natural phenomenon. And when her immune system drops, she is more vulnerable. Dystocia is calving difficulty, and indeed, like just mentioned, you know about calving difficulties and incidents, etc. But then when the cow is in that close-up period to calving and after calving, she's changing environments. She's going from a dry cow to a lactating cow situation. She's going through a whole pile of housing scenarios, dietary changes, and management changes. So she's going through significant changes, along with diet changes, etc. Now you can say, why talk about it now? The condition score that you dry off your cow in has a major impact on what she'll do in the next lactation. And this is worked from Northern Ireland, and it's basically focusing on what happens if you dry off cows in different condition scores. If the cow is dried in a good condition score, adequate condition, the culling by day 60 is very small, only in the region of 4%. But if your cows are dried off in poor body condition score, you have a significant amount culled by day 60. That animal is 3 1/4 to 3 1/2 condition score. These are 3 animals on the point to calving. This animal, as you can see, the tail head, the pin bones, there's a significant cavity on either side of the pin bones. That animal is too light. That's a second coming into the second lactation animal, and straight away you're taking €250 off a net profit in the next lactation for that animal.
That system where I was milking 300 cows for a good number of years, and I was spending 7.5 hours a day in that parlour. So I suppose when I first set out in 2017, when we started building, that's where the rollers, the bonus is taking place. When I set out to look at parlours, I said there's a retainer there to hold her and to run her around the second time. And when she comes around the second time, she's not getting any more meat. So she just goes for her second drive. And with this parlour, that's what it is. That's how long it will take you to just, if you want to put on 50 cows. So basically that's it. Yeah.
It sounds very simple, but it is. When you keep an animal, I'm an urbanite, so I wouldn't know what a sheep or a cow or a pig, how to keep them. But I took up beekeeping, and by taking up beekeeping, I learned how the environment works. I discovered what happens with the trees, what happens all the seasons, the cycles, and how important they are. You will get to know this with the bees. I know you're excellent farmers. Kerry Gold's butter is renowned worldwide. Kerry products are renowned worldwide. Your beef, dairy products, and sheep, and everything are wonderful. If you took up bees, you'd find out how important that is. And I come back to some of these facts and figures in a minute. Is it hard to keep bees? No, very simple. It's only a box with 60,000 women. Couldn't be easy. Simple answer is no. What would I get from it? You can get 2 things from it. It's a hugely rewarding hobby or interest, and you'll also make an income if you so wish to. We keep bees in Shelton Abbey and in Wakeview Prison, and it's for people who have maybe more difficulties and have criminality, and they have learned from it, and we use this in many sheds around the country to keeping bees, and they find a great help with mental health. Where do we get started? Okay, as farmers we can make some small changes which have big effects on the honeybee population. I know the dairy industry, and you need every blade of grass to get your yields out of the animals. I accept that. But we have lots of strips in our fields, and we have it naturally in Ireland already. And what we say to you is don't destroy them. Try and leave them if you can. Otherwise, all our fields will become deserts. Growing specimen trees, the Minister talked about growing trees at your driveways and at your house and everything else. A chestnut tree would produce 60 kg of honeycomb a year. It's an oasis for pollinators, including bees. A chestnut tree this year in your field would have kept the cows away from the sunshine and offered some shade. It doesn't take up that much of your space of your grass. And the chestnut tree, when it falls down, is excellent for making wood turning, cabinets and everything else. So it's a win-win for everybody, and it looks nice. Here are our tourist area. That's what a desert looks like to you and I as humans. That's a desert to a bee. A bee will only fly 5 kilometers in any direction from its hive. If you see this picture, it has nowhere to live. It has nothing to eat. It's a desert. They move on. And if we don't have the pollinators, they actually bring on, I don't think any grow tillage down here, but the rapeseed farmers get 15% extra yield by bringing beehives to their fields, and we do that as part of our free services. This is a typical Irish landscape, you know well, you drive every day. And as you can see, every 2 or 3 acres wide, there's a strip of field, there's a strip of land. Teagasc have a very informative leaflet they were brought up last year in conjunction with ourselves as to managing your hedgerows. Brambles are excellent, whitethorn is excellent. It's not just one bush, you need 2 or 3 bushes of both because it's a flowering season to keep the flower going.
The kind of things that maybe ultimately Dairy Master may decide to acquire and add to their products. But when you look at, that could be a whole range of things. Think of all the different implements and tools that you can use on a farm. So we look at it through a prism with these 3 sides. Really, it's information technology, and that encompasses everything from software, your apps. You may use HerdWatch or pasture-based, those kind of things. Drones that will be taking imagery and all the rest of it. Marketplaces. So I noticed the presentation before on the local food. One of the biggest challenges for small producers, for local producers, is connecting to a market. And so now there's online marketplaces that are helping with that kind of thing as well. Being able to club together and have more powerful purchasing power when you're going to the beef process, wherever it is. Those are the kind of things where online marketplaces can help. Chemicals and materials, so that's where you're coming into. Have we got new chemicals for crop protection, things that maybe won't damage the pollinators too much that Paul was just talking about. New treatments in your seed. Can you coat the seed with a pesticide as opposed to having to go and spray it later? Are we looking after water use? Obviously a very topical issue over the summer environment. And then life sciences as well. Can we look at new genetics? The Minister was referring to how the Irish dairy herd had been improving so much over the past decade. I want to see more of that. So really it almost comes down to the old physics, chemistry, and biology here. But that's essentially how we look at our ag tech. But one of the things they all have in common is really what's driving all of this recent interest in ag tech is they all culminate on data. It's really around, over the past 10 to 20 years, the cost of data acquisition, storage, and manipulation has really dropped precipitously. So really now you have all of this data, what can you do with it? And that's what we look for when we're looking at ag technologies. What kind of information can you bring in and what can you do with it?
To increase employment in the industry by an additional 23,000. And that's, I think, a very significant ambition, and it's one that has the capacity to contribute to, all the rural communities of Ireland in terms of employment opportunities. Because I think the value of this industry really came home in the context of the crash that we've been through. I'm conscious that we're still bearing some of the scars, and the healing process continues in the context of that. But this was an industry for whom it wasn't an option to close shop, and it wasn't an option to up and relocate. And it was really this industry, and indeed our other great industry, which Kerry is famous for, our hospitality industry, our tourism industry. Those 2 twin engines of our economic recovery really came into their own in the context of that crash and contributed enormously. And I think their value, as significant economic engines was probably up to that point not fully recognised. In fact, some had referred to the agricultural sector as a sunset industry. And I think nothing could be further from the truth. I don't like either the sunset or sunrise industry, but it is an industry, I believe, with an enormous potential opportunity. And I think the challenge for us is to make sure that we meet that opportunity in the most environmentally sustainable way possible. The Foodwise document talks about a number of things. It talks about kind of the pillars of that ambition being innovation, being competitiveness, being human capital. In other words, that we attract the best and the brightest people into the industry into the future. It talks about doing it in an environmentally sustainable way, and it talks about the importance of
McCarthy, because we look for topics from people, and a few people asked me, rang me up and said, look, bring us up to date on the Harrier programme, and then we'll another one about the whole new milking system, and then we'll have a few more contributions. So if you can at all, just stay on 5 minutes, and then we leave it at that. And while Owen is setting up there, Taugust, I'd like to thank here David Trant for organising all the Taugust speakers, and also for our other guest speakers here this evening, Niall. And thank you very much. And if we could just wait 1 minute, lads, before he leave here. Thank you.